This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yeah, we started learning client-side script and its client-side script types and its APIs. So yesterday we have seen how to make use of onload client script and as well as on change client script. Okay, so today we will see few more like on cell edit and on submit. Okay, so before that let me navigate to our application and let me take scenario. So booking application and click on your booking details to open the form. So first I will try to implement on submit client script. On submit client script. So the scenario is here. So if you want to validate data whatever you entered in the form by clicking on submit button, so you can implement or you can make use on submit client script. Okay, you can make use on submit client script. So I will show you how to make use and how to create it with scenario. So here we have form and there we designed it earlier. So the scenario is, so when we want to request booking, so we have to fill the from destination and start date, return date, and so on, right? So here, for example, right now, if you see, when I am trying to book a ticket, so here I can select start date, started. Let's say assume that we selected from a destination. So now let me select here the start date, and also I'm planning to select a return date as well. But here by mistake I selected return date less than the start date. You can see start date is at 22nd and return date is at 17. So this is actually wrong. Okay, so this kind of scenarios if you want to validate, and also here so this validation will be done, this data validation will be done on clicking on submit button. Okay, it depends on your take. So you can verify this on change after entering return date. So then immediately if you want to show that one pop-up saying that return date should be greater than start date, so then you can implement this in on change client script. Okay, so it depends on scenario you can make use, but at this moment we are taking the scenario on submit. Okay, so here once I click on submit, so it will not verify anything, it will not, it will simply saves or insert the record. Okay, because we don't have validation on return date. Okay, so let's try to implement validating return date here. So return date should not be less than the start date. Okay, so that is what the condition we have to verify in the on submit. So once I click on submit, so we have to verify this return date should not be less than the start date. So then only we have to allow submitting this request, otherwise we should not allow this. Okay, so to implement this I'm navigating to studio. I'm navigating to studio, so click on here studio option. It takes you to the applications. So select your booking application. Once you select your booking application, so it will take you to the studio, and if you want to create a file or script, so just click on create application file, navigate to client development and select the client script. So we know earlier we discussed in yesterday class about filling this form details, right? So we have implemented on load and on change. So same way we have to fill the details here as well. So let's say validate return date and select the table by clicking on here. So you can select booking details table, and here, so type, select the on submit. When I select on submit, if I scroll down, you can see, so function is added, on submit function is added. So within this function, you can start writing the code. Okay, so the logic, whatever we discussed to validate return date, so we have to write it here. So whenever you click on submit, so this script will get execute. So we have to compare the start date and return date, and we can validate. So many different ways are there. So in ServiceNow, here you can directly you can use less than or greater than or equal to operator, and you can compare it. Okay,
Okay,
if
can
you
you
want to
scroll up?
write, yeah,
Just messed up.
hello,
Okay. Okay, fine.
okay, yeah. So here you can write the code. So to write the code or to get the form details, so which API class we have to use. So here I need start date and return date. Which API class we have to use? What is the syntax? Hello, anyone?
Get class.
Glide form and glide form.
Yeah. So glide form, what is the object we have to use to call the glide
Glide,
form?
where some variable name equal to glide form dot get value.
Glide
First,
form data. Okay.
we need to get first value, right? So
Yeah, we have to get value, correct. Yes. So you are saying correct, but the name you are missing.
It's G underscore form.
Yeah, correct. So G underscore farm, right? So remember why I'm asking this question is, so you should remember that. So whenever you want to access controls and its values in the client script, so you should make use G underscore farm. So G underscore farm, it refers to the glide form. Okay. So glide form is the name. G underscore farm is the object. Using that, you can access the glide form, glide form methods. And also
Uh,
remember here, yeah, go ahead.
Nagesh, can we explicitly instantiate glide form?
No, we cannot.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So here I'm going to explain, or I'm going to give some important information. So whatever controls you have configured in the form, only that controls and its values you can access in the client script using the glide form. It means that, so in table we know around some 70 to 80 columns are there. 70 to 80 columns are there, but here we used only some 20, max 20 columns, I guess. Okay, so only these 20 columns related, related information, you can get it in client scripts. You cannot get it columns which are not there on the form. Okay, you cannot get the information in the client script, so which are not there on the form. So this is very important. Okay, so I will cover how to get it value of the field which is not there in the form using display business rule. Okay, so there I will cover, but remember, so whenever you are using any client script, so you will get only values or only fields whatever there on the form. So if the field is not there on the form, so it's not possible to access that value using glide form or any other class. Note this point.
So in that case, you need to use display business one.
Yeah, so the alternative is using display business tool and get the specific field value using one variable called scratchpad, and you can pass it to client side script and you can use it. So that I will cover with scenario. Okay, so here to access form fields and its values, we have to use glide form. So to use glide form, global object is g underscore form.
Time.
I am muting everyone. So let me create one variable. Let's say start date equal to g underscore form dot get value. So returns the value of the specified field. So we want to get here start date field value. So I know the field name I'm typing. Okay. So if you don't know, just you can go ahead and get the field name by right clicking on the form field. So for example, if you want to know start date field name, so here click on show and copy the field name. You can paste it. If you know already, you can just type it, not a problem. So like this, you can get the return date as well, where return date equal to g underscore form dot get value. So it will, here we will get the return date. So now we have start date and return date. We have start date and return date. As I said earlier, so many different ways we can do this validation. Okay, but here we can just use the less than or greater than operator and we can verify these values. So here you can put if return date less than the return date less than the start date. One second. If return date less than the start date, then here, so we have to show error message. To show error message, again we have a method in the glide form, add error message, displays an error message at top of the form. And if you want to display information message, you can use this another method called add info message. And also we have another option called show error box. If you use this, it displays that error below of the specific control. So if I want to display error message under return checkbox, so you can make use of this and you can display that. Okay, so different options are there. So let me show you this. Later I will use add error and add info messages. So here we have to provide the control under which control this error message has to display. So let me give here. So under return date, then what message you want to give. So here you can configure. Let's say return date must be after start date. Return date must be after start date. So once we throw this or once we show this message, then we should not allow this submit, right? So once we, if you allow this submit, it will go and it will insert this record into database. To cancel this submit, you can use the JavaScript return statement. So it will cancel this submit operation. It will cancel the submit operation. It's a JavaScript one. So return false. When you put return false, it cancels this submit operation. Okay, so this is how you can just write code and you can validate. And here, let me click on here submit button to submit this on submit client script. So once you submit it, go back to the platform and refresh or reload. So let me reload this form. After reloading, so let me try to enter the details. So for example, here I'm selecting from destination, start date, and here I want to select return date as well, but by mistake here I'm selecting return date as a 13th, and color I'm selecting. So once I am done with this form filling, so now I can click on submit. So if everything goes fine, it should not allow me to submit, and it should throw the error message. You can see now here. So return date must be after start date. If I go and modify this to 27th, so 22nd, and return date is 27th. If I click on submit, it should allow. Yes, it's allowed and we submitted. Okay, so this is how you can use on submit. So the scenario is only to explain how to make use of these scripts. Okay, whatever we are taking scenarios, so just we want to give more clarity on how to make use of this particular script types, so that you will remember and you will not forget. Okay, so we have seen on load, on change, on submit. So let me know if you have any questions on this. Okay, so implement on submit. So whenever you want to do the entire form validation. Okay, another last script type in under client side scripts, that is called on cell edit. Now tell me, so what is the use of on cell edit and where we can implement on cell edit? Yeah, Purna, your voice
Yeah,
is
so
breaking.
we
Yeah,
can write. Yeah, so what I'm saying, like on list view, right? So
yeah,
and on the column itself, over the column, which
yeah. Okay.
Here
What
only you can
about?
edit the one which
the
you are
change
displaying
in that.
in the column.
Hmm, correct. What about others? So only I'm hearing from few members here. So many are not opening their, I mean, not answering. Maunisha, Lokesh, Kumar, newly joined, can understand. Venkatesh, Sandhya. So are you guys following? Because here everyone should learn. That is the reason I'm just calling these names. Otherwise, I don't have any intention. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything, you can reach out me. If you have any, if you are not clear, so you can call me and you can explain me your issue, so I can give you more clarity on these things. So as we discussed earlier, on cell edit, we cannot implement or we cannot make use of, we cannot make use to validate the form. Okay, it's not designed for the form. So on-cell edit is designed for the list layout. On-cell edit is designed for the list layout. So here is the list. So when you see data in the table format, so that we will call as a list. If you would like to validate this list, list edit or list columns edit, so you can make use of on-cell edit. So let me take scenario here. If you want to, let's say for example here, everything is a cell. If I double tap here, double click on state, so it allows me to edit this. If I click on approval history, so everything is a cell. Okay, so the scenario is as part of the requirement, let's say just assume here, so they asked you to restrict selecting this closed skipped option. Whenever user select this closed script, and if he clicks on save, so we should not allow him to select, saying that so this option is not allowed to select, please select different option, such kind of validations. Okay, so just I'm taking this scenario, but you can implement on any column here. So on cell edit you can implement on any column or any cell edit. So let me take this scenario and let me try to implement. So here we are going to restrict selecting this option, but other options we should allow to select and update it. Let me navigate to Studio. So to create on-cell edit, as usual, go to client development, click on client script, and here you can just provide the name. Let's say state on-cell edit, state on-cell edit, table. Let me select here booking details. And here select the type as a on-cell edit. So when I select on-cell edit, you can see it is asking me to select the field. It means that which cell, which column cell you want, which column you want to implement this on-cell edit. So it works like a on change. It works on change, also works on a single column, right, on the form. So this on-cell edit also, it works on a single column in the list. So here we have to select the state. You have to select the state. So once you select the state, here description, you can, we know all these things. So here you can see function has been added here. This function, JavaScript function called on-cell edit, takes 5 parameters. The first parameter is sys ID is nothing but, so whatever row you are editing, so that row sys ID you will get it here. So IDs, multiple edits we can do at a time. So for example, if you want to edit, so just press the control and select the whatever rows you want to update, and here select one and click on, let's say selecting work in progress option and clicking on save button. You can see, so I can update multiple records at a time. So in that case, you can get here multiple sys IDs. Table, so table here, so whatever table we configured, we will get it here. Old values, so while you are editing here multiple options, you may have different rows may have different values, right? But you have to, while new value will be the same. Okay, so earlier open was there, so I modified to work in progress. Okay, so here old values. So before modifying, whatever values are there under those columns, so all will come in old values parameter. New value, whatever value we were updating, all the old values. So early, I mean, work in progress is new, and open was the old value, right, for all these columns. So those things you will get it here. And callback is a one function actually. So this function will take care to submit the record based on the variable value. If variable value equal to true, so then it indicates yes, we can submit or we can update this update into the specified table. Okay, so here you can decide. So if you don't want to update on a specific condition, here you can set this save and close variable to false. Okay, so this is all about the on cell edit function. So let me go ahead and let me try to implement this scenario. So here, so answer,
Nagesh,
yeah.
I have one doubt. Like, why will use this callback function?
Callback function, so actually it happens database operation here. Okay, so data, they have written all the logic. So when you are updating here, so technically it's updating the directly database. So that's why, so internally they wrote this logic. So it actually calls the some server side script on save up this, and it executes there. If you send here false, it will not update that operation. It fails that operation.
I see. Okay. Save
Okay.
and close.
Yeah, I will show you
Can
with
we,
example. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so this save and close, I mean, do we know like, or any ways we know like, where it is written and what is that, or it is something like, we can't see?
Here is the line, you can see variable. It is save and close is a variable. So just
Okay,
we are
this is
using
a
to,
parameter.
yeah, parameter. We are passing parameter for this method.
Nagesh, after submit, it will not do any change to the database, right? It's just in the list it will change, right?
Yeah, no. It list means database. It
Okay, okay,
updates
okay.
in the database. Hmm?
Okay.
Yeah.
After submit, we can't revert back the changes, right, to the old value.
You can again. You have to update it. You have to again click on this cell edit, and you can update again. Every time it updates.
Yeah, now I got it. I mean, I believe like, I guess you mentioned something, like on submit, right? So we need to, for performing the database operation, if we return it true, no matter if it is an error also, it will going to commit the transaction. But if we return false, the database transaction will not happen, right? So maybe the callback function is behaving similar way.
Correct. But in yeah, correct. Same way it acts here. So there that on submit, on change, and on load. If you want to cancel anything, so we use return statement, return false. Return is a one JavaScript statement. So that will take care. So it will kill. I mean, it will cancel the operation before reaching server side. It client side only. It cancel that operation.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so using client-side scripts on load, on change, on submit, so directly you cannot perform database operations. But here on cell edit, we have they have written this function, so it will take care about performing that. But technically, it is not possible to perform database operations here.
Because of that function, we can do it.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so let me try to implement that validation. So on state field, so I'm trying to implement. So
Nagesh,
whenever
can you
we
please tell me about that old value and new value again? Missed it.
old value and new value. So here let's say right now open is there. Okay, if I update this open state to, let's say, closed complete, so old value was open and new value is closed complete. So these two values you can access here using these two parameters.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me use this new value option. So here let's say if new value equal to here I mean for every option values will be there. So for example here 7 means closed incomplete. So if I select, let me click on here. So here for every option, open is 1, pending is -5, work in progress is 2, closed skipped is 7. So like these values are there. Okay, so if you want to see the values, I will show you. So just here open the record, go to state and click on show choice list. When I click on show choice list, when I click on show choice list, so here it shows all the choices. So we have to filter with the table. So we know all these choices are coming from task table, because while creating our booking details table, so we have extended, and state field also comes from there. So here are the options and you can see the values here. Closed skipped, closed incomplete, closed complete, and so on. So here, so closed skipped is 7. So that is what I'm going to validate. So whenever new value is 7, that is closed skipped. So here you can make use of this, and you can write the alert statement as well. Alert equal to, let's say, please select different option. Something you can give some meaningful message. And once you've done that, once it shows alert, so you should not update the change, right? So we have to cancel that change. So to do that, here go to save and close, and take that variable and update it to false. So then it will go here false. So here by default true is there. So whenever condition matches, it comes inside and it updates to false, and here it sends the false.
It will
Uh,
retain
So
the old
simple.
value only, right?
Sorry.
It will retain the old value only, right? After
Yeah,
false.
it will return back to old value. Correct.
so what if instead of the 7 close equal to false, if I just write return there?
No, return is here. See, here we have to pass. Okay, if you here you can directly pass true or false. Okay, so if you return here, this is a database operation we are controlling. Okay, so
Mhm.
this, even though if you return here true, so then here itself we can cancel it. So it should work return statement as well, because it's a client script. It should
Right.
work return also, it will work. But if you want to follow this process, and if you want here pass false, so this is I mean, this is another way of our direct way of restricting the database operation. So definitely you can make use of return as well.
Okay.
So now let me click on here submit. So I submitted. Now let me go back here and click on booking details. So here now let me select any one of this record and let me try to update it. Close it, skipped. You can see, please select this operation. If I click on OK, it returns back. So this is how you can validate the list by using this on cell edit. So in interview question, it's a tricky. We may be using very less comparing all other 3 client scripts, but in interview they may ask you about this. So where and when we can use on cell edit. Okay, so this is all about 4 types of scripts: on load, on change, on submit, and on cell edit. Are you clear about this, guys?
Nagesh,
Please
in
let me
real
know.
time scenario, in real time we use this one is more. You mean
Which one? Answer.
on cell edit.
Yeah, same scenario. So whenever you have a requirement of validating the list, so you have to use answer edit, like restricting the selection of the specific options in the list, or entering some values in the text boxes. So whatever validations you want to do here, you have to use answer edit.
We can do from empty to some other option as well if it is there in the approval
Mm,
set. The approval set column
mm.
we have empty, right? From there to we can give other filter value if it is there, option is there.
Here approval set is some date field, it seems here. Yes, we can do
Okay.
that.
Okay. That variable we need to pass empty only, right? Like in the code, the old value.
No, code, yeah, old value here it comes automatically, it comes. You no need to pass anything here. Okay,
Okay.
automatically when you
Okay.
edit, when you access any specific row value, it comes here automatically. You can just use those. Here I use that.
Condition. Okay.
Yeah. So these variables carries the values from the selected row or selected column. So ServiceNow is already giving you. You no need to do anything. Just you have to make use of these variables.
Okay.
Okay. So this is all about 4 types of client scripts. Okay. So next concept is UI policies. Next concept is UI policies. So as I said earlier, UI policies are alternative to on load and on change. UI policies are on load client script and on change client script, and that too you can implement using UI policies only few standard things like making fields mandatory, read only, and visibility things. So whenever you want to achieve these things directly without writing much logic and all, so just you can go with the UI policies, because when you use UI policies you no need to write any code. So code is not required in the UI policies. So that is the reason. So ServiceNow is also recommending. So if you want to implement something, you can implement that. Sorry, if you want to implement some particular concept or functionality without writing code, so that is the first priority. Okay, but if it is not possible, try to write less code. The concept is no code or less code. Okay. So try to see if it is possible to implement without writing code. So choose that option. Otherwise, you can go with the coding. So while working with ServiceNow, so try to escape writing code as much as you can. So try to find or try to see alternatives, how to do that without writing code. So that is a trending now, and ServiceNow also promoting last 2 years, same concept, no code or less code. It's a tool, so they are not recommending to write code here. So UI policies are implemented for our UI policies are given to implement on load on sorry, UI policies are given to implement to make fields mandatory, read only, or visibility things. So whenever you have a requirement, directly you can use UI policies without writing code, and you can implement. And also, so as I said earlier, so UI policies are alternative to onload and onchange. But so if onchange is has only true or false, it works perfectly fine. But if onchange contains more than two values, so this UI policies will not work. Okay, we have to use onchange client script. I will explain that scenario. So let me implement UI policies. So far we have implemented all these things on the employee view. Now let me go to this default view. Let me go to default view. So default view is available under create new module. So here you can see the same scenarios are there. So I'll try to show you how to implement these things like hiding and making fields mandatory using the UI policies. So let me show you how to hide controls using UI policies without writing code. So to implement that, click on create application file, go to client development and click on UI policy. Here you can see the description. Controls to specify what fields are visible and editable on the form based on its current content. So let me select here. So once I select this UI policy, here is the form. We have to fill the details. So the first one is we need to select the table. Then active should be true. And here is the description. So description works like a title for this UI action. So here you can say title return date. Toggle return date. And here three tabs are there. This is a new tab, order tab we have configured earlier. So three tabs are there. One is when to apply. So when do you want to execute this UI policy? So here you can define the condition. So here all the fields are available from that booking details table. Whatever you configure, the fields are available here. You can set the condition, or here you can see global option is there. So here you can select the view from this list. So otherwise you can select the global. So if I select global, it applies on all the views. Okay, so here as we discussed earlier, execution process. So first client side scripts will get execute, later UI policies will get execute. So UI policies will override the changes whatever we have done in the client scripts. So if you have both the scripts on the same view, so first UI policy, sorry, client scripts will get execute and later UI policies. And here you can see onload. If you select onload, so this UI policy will get execute in onload of the form. We know inheritance, we can inherit this UI policy as part of the table inheritance. Reverse if false, the conditions are not matching, so then you can reverse to, I mean cancel this UI policy, don't execute this. That's what here, reverse if false. And here script option is there. If run script is selected, a specified script is be executed when the UI policy condition evaluates true. So two types of scripts will be there. So one is true block, second one is false block. So if the when to apply gives true here, so the code whatever you written here, it will execute in the true block. If it is written false, it will execute this. Okay, so 99% of the time we may not writing code here, we no need to write code here, but still they have given, if you need to write some code, you can definitely write it here. Otherwise you no need to write, just you can uncheck this. This is the order number. So if you have multiple UI policies, you can configure the order number, which one has to execute first. Based on this order number, ServiceNow will take care. So once you execute when to apply, once you configure when to apply, so here you can click on submit button. So it submits this UI policy. So we decided this UI
What
policy
is
should
view?
execute in the onload. Just give me 1 minute. 1 minute. So this UI policy will get execute in the onload, and also we did not write any script. Okay, so we just decided when to execute. So now we are going to perform what actions it has to do. Okay, so yeah, now tell me any questions.
You
Yes,
give
Sandesh.
global, right? You give global view. That one
uh,
is fine.
uh, yeah, global means it applies for all the views. UI policies applies to all form views. Okay, here if you want to select any specific view, so you can just here click on this view and select the view name here. So only one view is there. Default view will not display. By default it will not display. So employee view display. If you create few more views, it displays those views. Except default view, it displays here every view. So just I'm selecting here global. So after that, once you submit, here we have two options. One is UI policy actions. It means that when it is executes, what do you want to do? So here you can configure that by clicking on new button. And another one is UI policy related list actions. So related list, if you remember in the beginning we discussed. So in the form, let's say, I don't know whether we have here or not. Let me go to existing records. No, we don't have here also. So related tabs, okay, after the main tab, below tabs will display, right? Related tabs. So those tabs, if you want to hide and show, you can make use of this. Here you can configure true or false. So which related list it has to visible, you can decide here. So we will take this later. So we will try to implement UI policy actions. So click on new button to configure the action. So when I click on new button, it shows me here UI policy name, table name, and here we have to select to on which field it has to apply. So let me select return date. So return date, what you want to do. So these four options, four options we have. So only you can configure these four options. Like if you want to make visible false, you can select this here. So three options are there in every drop down: leave alone, true, false. If I select leave alone, it ignores this, it will not apply this option. Here true or false. So if you want to make field this return date read only, you can make this option true. If I want to make mandatory, you can make this true. Okay, so this is how you can make use of this four option. And also if you want to clear the field values, you can do that. So these things you don't need to write any code. So just click on submit. So one action is added. Let me update it. Now if I go back to UI policy, you can see one action is added. So like this, you can add multiple actions. Okay, multiple fields. You can create one single UI policy and you can add multiple fields, and you can take the decision like which field you want to apply these three options: mandatory, visibility, read only. So right now I applied for only return date. Okay, so this is how you can create UI policy, and you can implement these three things without writing code. Before executing this or before testing this, let me know if you have any questions.
We can add one more action, right? UI policy action for like start date, something like that, which is
Yeah, definitely you can do that. You can add yeah, you can do other fields validations by using this new button. You can add one more. Okay, so once we done with this, now let me go ahead and show you that result. So click on here, create new, and you can see return date is not visible. So just we have hidden one condition here. So just we have hidden the return date by making visible false. Now this is about the, so on load up the form, it has executed and it has applied. So like this, you can make use of this UI policy as an alternative to onload client script. This is alternative. So let's try to implement one more UI policy. So that should be alternative to on change client script. So on change client, so yeah, sorry. So let me take scenario here. So the scenario is, so on change of the return checkbox, it has to display return date. It's already displaying because I'm not sure. In on change client script, we might have not specified the view name, so that is the reason it is applied. So let me go to your tag return date client script. So here we selected global, so that is the reason it applied. If I select here employee view, so it applies to click on submit, update. So now see it's not working. So it's work. I mean, just it was, we restricted this on change client script to only employee view. So let me implement this using UI policies without writing code. So technically we're learning how to create UI policy for on change of field value. So this UI policies will be helpful when you have a field value true or false. Okay, so this UI policy you cannot, I mean on change UI policy you cannot implement on state fields. Here more than one options are there, it will not work. It will not work. Okay, so let me show you how to configure on change. So here click on create application file, click on client development, and click on here UI policy. Once I click on UI policy, so as usual select the table name and here provide the description. I think toggle return date is a wrong one. I have given this, so here hide return date. Anyway, just I will update this. Hide return date. So for this one, I will give toggle return date, so it suits for that. So toggle return date, and here the condition. So based on condition, it works like a on change. So here we are saying when return checkbox is true, when return checkbox is true, then execute this UI policy, else don't execute this. So I'm unchecking onload, and global I am leaving it. So if this UI policy return false, it cancels this. the whatever we are going to perform here. So this based on this condition, it works like a on change. It works like a on change because the return checkbox either it gives true or false. So that's how it works. I mean, this UI policy will execute like a, or it works like a on change. But this particular return date, if not giving this true or false, if they are giving like multiple options, then it will not work. Okay, so you can try, for example, on a state field. So try to implement uh, like if the state is in open, so try to add some controls. Okay, if state is in work in progress, show some controls. If state is in closed, so you can make field some read only. So if you configure that here, so it will not work. Okay, so we tested and everybody knows that. So that kind of scenario, so UI policies will not be suitable. So we have to use on change client script. So just saved here. So this UI part, yeah. Any questions?
Nagesh, can we capture, let's say, um, something like, 3-4 fields I want to kind of use in the conditions, right? So something like, the field will be like anything. I mean, I just wanted to like whenever there will be any update in by using the or clause. We can do that, right?
Yeah, you can do that. Okay, but it won't work properly. Okay, so you can try that. So we tested and everybody knows that it will not give you correct result. So these UI
Okay,
policies are suitable for only so when you have a true or false kind of drop downs or checkboxes.
I see.
Yeah. So just I configure the condition and I uncheck the unload. Now let me go ahead and here. So configure the action. So action is here. So when return checkbox equal to true, we have to display the return date, and that too mandatory. So let me do that. So click on return date and visible equal to true and mandatory field is mandatory. Okay, and click on submit. So here it says that so both order number is same, so we have to modify the order number. So here since I used same field in both the UI policies, so that is the reason. So it is asking me give the proper order number so that it will decide which one has to execute first and which one has to execute next. Okay, so here now let me click on update. So just it is saved. Now it looks everything is looks fine. Now let me go back to this form and reload this. And here you can see showing siding. So this is how you can implement UI policies, so which are alternative to onload and on change. Okay, so this is all about client scripts and UI policies. So tomorrow we will see how to make use UI scripts. So once we're done with that, so we will enter into server side scripting.